Good morning, everyone. It's Marcus, and welcome to more chatting in my jungle room. I am heading overseas today, where I'm chatting with Damian Kulash. He is, of course, from OK Go. He's making his coffee now. Damian, come in loud and strong. How are you?
I am wonderful. And yourself? I mean, I'll be more wonderful once I've had my coffee, obviously, but I'm doing pretty well.
Well, I'm halfway in, so you've got a bit of catching up to do, my friends.
I do. I do.
Now, the reason why we're chatting today is because you have got major success happening with your fifth OK Go album out now, which is called The Adjacent Possible, and it's doing great things. Whoa, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How are you feeling about the album?
I'm loving it. I'm so proud of this album. I think it's the best one we've ever made. And it's just, it's more personal, it's more human, and I always get sick of our records about now, and this time I'm not. So I'm pretty excited.
That's cool. And how did it feel winning the Grammy Award?
We won a Grammy for our treadmill video many years ago, and that was wonderful. It set us off on like a crazy adventure of making insane videos, for which I mean, for this album we have made a new crazy video. It's for a song called Love, and it's got 30 robots and 60 mirrors in a giant choreography in a train station in Budapest, and it is gorgeous and wonderful, and I'm very excited about it.
Technically, how did you go making treadmill? Because I mean, that sounds pretty intense. The robots, the mirrors, all of that, the choreography.
Yeah, the new video was like a 6 month process. Well, like I had worked with Aaron, my co-director, many years ago on an optical illusions video. This one is all practical tricks. Like it's all the things you can do if you put two mirrors together and make infinity with them. And so we just spent a week testing those ideas and dreaming up like if we had perfectly accurate hands, like robot hands, for instance, what could we do with this? And we came up with, you know, 30 or 50 cool ideas, and then tried to figure out how to make robots do that.
Now, 10 years since the previous album. Why the decade break?
I had kids, and I wanted to be a good dad and be home for them. Our guitarist also did. So that was a few year break, and then there was the pandemic, and that was another break. And then I directed a film called The Beanie Bubble with my wife. It actually stars two Australians,
Oh,
Sarah Snook and Geraldine Viswanathan. And but that was, directing a film takes a couple years out of your life. And the next
as
thing you
does
know, it's
children.
been 8 years. What's that?
I said, as does children, I'm sure.
Oh
Probably
yeah, that takes more than a
years.
couple of years. Yeah,
Yeah, see you in 16 years' time for the next album.
seriously. Right.
So how do
Um,
you find juggling the family life and the music career?
I kind of love it actually. Having kids puts everything in perspective. Um, it, everyone says the same stuff about it, and I don't want to just say the same old cliche things, but it's not just that you see the world through their eyes, it's that it gives you a better kind of structure for your own priorities in life. And so while it's much harder to get anything done because there's fewer free hours in the day, I feel like I use those hours more wisely and appreciate them more.
And I guess, as far as the music career goes, the music biz goes, I guess it's another source of inspiration for you now as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think every emotion you can have, you wind up rediscovering and finding new depths of it. So that includes, anxiety and anger and all the terrible things. But for the most part, it's like you discover new flavors of love and new reasons to love and new types of wonder and new, reasons to wonder. And it's not just, again, it's not just that you're seeing it through your kids' eyes, it's that they sort of expand your own eyes. It's really wonderful.
Now, we touched on the videos, obviously. You are known very much as a visual band with your videos, and your video, if anyone has not seen the videos behind the music, I mean, go out and check it out because like the visuals are just incredible. Do you find it a hard balance to, you know, balance the visuals and the music at the same time, so the visuals don't overpower the music, or vice versa, or whatever?
Well, that's a good question. I don't find it difficult, but I'm not sure that everybody agrees with my assessment. Like there's, you know, we get asked all the time whether or not we're worried that our videos are somehow overwhelming the music. And to me, that's kind of like, are the lyrics overwhelming the song? Like it's all part of the same ball of information for me. But I do understand, of course, rationally that like we watch things differently than we listen to them. And sometimes having such a strong visual gets people to, it gives people such a specific experience of the song that they can't experience it in their own way after that. And I guess I sometimes worry about that, but from the perspective of somebody who just likes making stuff, like I feel so lucky that we get to make these crazy art projects that other bands don't get the opportunity to make. I mean, we've spent 10, 20 years doing this, and with each one we get a weirder and more delightful art project. And it's just not something you could find a record label that would pay for. It's like we've wound up in a little tiny corner of the music industry that's kind of no one else is in. And as a person who wants to make stuff, there's just nothing better than that. Like I get to make the songs I want to and the visuals I want to. So it's great.
A creative person obviously wants to dabble in every single area. I mean, can you imagine somebody back in the 1970s saying to Elton John, do you think your costumes might be overpowering your music? I mean, look at him now. He's done all right.
I know, and I'm sure people did. It's just like I think with some distance, people kind of realize how crazy those assessments are. Like, do you think that Starman was overwhelming Bowie somehow?
Exactly. And you know what? I mean, as an artist, you can't force the way that a punter is going to consume your work. That's up to them. We can just do the best we can, right?
That's exactly the case. I mean, you can't ever decide how the world is going to see things. You can hope, you can help, but like for the most part, my job is to make stuff that I believe in, and that's it.
Now, back in 2002, when OK Go, set the charts on fire with the first album, how did OK Go come together originally?
We actually, Tim, the bassist, and I had been friends for a long time at that point. We met when we were 11 years old at summer camp in 1987, which I guess ages us a little bit. Uh, but we had been friends forever. And we always liked making stuff together, and we were in separate bands and all that kind of stuff. And um, the point is it was all friends before it was instrumentalists. We weren't like going out there finding the best drummer we could. We were finding the best people we could. And it pays off in the end because 25 years later we all still get along and love each other, and I can't say that of very many bands.
Yeah, correct. Good point. Now, obviously, stay back when you were younger, when you were a child, teenager, whatever. Who were you listening to in the bedroom on your CD player, whatever, the cassette player, that was really inspiring you to get into the music industry?
Well, the first things I really fell in love with were pop music, just Prince and Depeche Mode. Run DMC was really big for me. But it wasn't till I discovered punk that I really wanted to do it myself. And I guess the biggest bands for me were Pixies and Fugazi, and they really just like utter. I grew up in Washington D.C. and Fugazi was playing all the time, and all the shows were in churches and in high school cafeterias and stuff. It was all open. It was all ages, and it was all very inclusive. It was very like a DIY scene that really, really invited everybody in. And that was the thing that made me want to do it.
So 23 years later, here we are in 2025, 23 years of OK Go. Give me two answers. What would be one of your proudest moments during that time during the career? And of course, one of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
Um, I would say, I guess one of my proudest moments was at the release of our third album, which is called Of the Blue Color of the Sky, we made a Rube Goldberg machine, like, a chain reaction device video that took months to build for a song called This Too Shall Pass. And we made it on a pretty tight budget, and it broke the internet, got millions and millions of views. Um, and was a really beautiful piece of engineering. But what makes me so proud of it is that we stood up to our label and we're like, we're going to do this our way. And they let us go. They gave us back our record, and we put it out ourselves. And it was a really big risk on our part, and it worked. And that is I'm really proud of. And I would say the thing I learned that got me there actually came from the success of our treadmill video. And it's funny that these videos have wound up being the sort of have taught me so much about making music that after being on a major label and having sort of these, decent sized hits on alternative radio and stuff, we found that the thing that people responded to the most was the thing our label told us never to do. We put out this video of us dancing on treadmills, this ridiculous thing that they said, like, if we ever put that out, we'd be sunk because it was so nerdy and so not rock and roll and everything. And to watch that sort of explode across the world made me realize, like, if we do the one thing that only we will do, that's what matters. And that made us write different music. It gave us the freedom and the confidence to do things differently than we would have otherwise. And that's the thing I'm most thankful for, is that, like, decades later, we're not still trying to chase what somebody else thinks success looks like.
Yeah, good. Now, back to the album very quickly. I know we're in a bit of a time restraint, but back to the album, The Adjacent Possible. Stone Only Rolls Downhill was the lead single for that. Obviously, after that, there's a plethora of incredible songs on that album. Is there a personal favorite that you are attached to?
Well, I'll give you two. My favorite is the song "Love," the one that has the video with the robots in the mirrors. I just think it also is about that feeling I was saying of fatherhood opening up your experience of the world. It's about how I rediscovered love through my children, and I'm really happy with it. The other one on the completely other end of the emotional spectrum is called "This Is How It Ends," and it's a very sad ballad, but I feel like it's the every once in a while, when you've written something that you said exactly what you meant to say. And this is one of the ones where it's like, there was no guessing. There was no, I've almost got it. It was like precisely what I wanted to say. And it matched the emotion perfectly. And every time I hear it, it still gets me, which I love.
One last question for you before you rush off to rehearsals. Your fifth album down now. How is the process of creating music now different to perhaps when you started back in 2002?
Oh boy. It's much more it's much more fluid for us now because it's been something we've sort of integrated into our adult lives. I remember back then getting into a studio was I just remember how amazing it was to be like, we're going to have 3 days in a studio and it would be such a blocked off time, and now everybody, of course, has an even more powerful studio than that in the laptop they carry around with them. So it's a much more organic experience than it used to be.
Damian Kulash from OK Go, what an absolute pleasure. Now, I know that you're about to do rehearsals because we've spoken about that off camera, but you are doing an American and Canadian tour. But there's no word of Australia yet. Please let us know as soon as that's happening, because we are aching for you to come over here.
We will definitely be in Australia in 2026.
Fantastic. I'll be looking forward to it. You better come to Adelaide, South Australia. I'm looking forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Damian, what a pleasure. And congratulations on the success of The Adjacent Possible.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Enjoy rehearsals.
Well, thanks, man.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.